just like that, we are going. I'm here today with another very special guest. He is the owner of Gas House Gym out here in the Valley. He is a trainer, personal trainer. He's a mentor, and much, much more that we're going to find out. This is Donnie Santos. Thanks for coming by, man.
Thanks for having me. I've been excited to do this. I've had to cancel on you a few times because of a sick kid and whatnot, but finally made it happen, so I'm pumped.
Yeah. In time, I've been wanting to do this too. So, and with kids, that's a good excuse, I always say, especially when it's, their health and stuff. So take care of that, but we made it work and here we are. So, let's give a little bit of background for me and everybody else listening. Let's just go over like who you are, what you've been doing, and basically how you've got here.
Man, it's one of those things where, I had dreams of how I wanted my life to look. And to be honest, I just followed what made me happy. And there was one point where I truly saw the vision of this could be the anchor of my life, right? So, from Spokane, grew up playing all the sports. I played hockey, basketball, baseball, football, excelled in baseball. So, I was lucky, when I look at the outlook of sports now, youth sports, and you see all the club teams, you see all the travel ball, all that. The one thing that I got to experience was the kids I played with lived in the same zip code. My core group of friends, my best friends, my teammates, I rode my bike to all their houses, right? So I didn't mess around with like the all-star team stuff until my junior year when I started saying, okay, well, I got to do this to move on to the next level, whatever. But so really good group of core friends, played baseball with the same guys for a long time. And when I went to college, I was lucky enough to go to Spokane Falls with a few of my best friends. And, the foundation of what I do, I was never super into strength, fitness, conditioning. It was part of what I did, but that wasn't like, I would say, the passion. So when I was a sophomore in college, my best friend lived 10 blocks away, middle school, high school, moved on to college together, we're roommates, took his own life in my apartment, or our apartment. And it was one of those things that obviously had a big impact who I am, but, when you look at it, there was no, I say this because in my opinion, but there was no signs. Starting shortstop, had all the things that from the outside you look at and you're like, man, what does he have to, not be sad about, but to have these thoughts and go through with what he did. And, my coping was truly like trying to be an anchor for other people. I really tried to hold strong and, be the person when they looked around and said like, I can go to Donnie, I can lean on Donnie, and that was hard. It was because I inside was a wreck, but I really tried to portray this strength and have everything put together from the outside, right? So, when I was going through the college system, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Community college got just my general AA done, and then it was time to figure out, okay, what are you going to do for your major? I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to really dive into this mental health aspect. And the so went to Lewis Clark State. First thing I did was say I'm gonna do psychology. That's, kind of the natural route if you want to get into mental health, whatever. So I'm in these classes, and I had one class in particular that, they're talking about this setting, one-on-one, counselor, patient, tell me how you feel. And going through different scenarios, every day in that class, there was somebody crying, right? It was just like a really heavy room. It was like every day going in like, gosh, this is going to be intense. And I didn't really feel that was the best, like where I was at. I didn't feel I had the strength to like sit down and just say, hey, here's what's going on with me to somebody I don't really know, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to find that vehicle where I could still have that relationship and I can still have those connections and be able to ask, hey, how you doing? What, and I thought, okay, well, coaching, natural, like, and that summer I had a job training at a high school, running the strength and conditioning at a high school. And I said, wow, this is pretty awesome. I got to know kids. I, got to read body language, got to see how they're doing. Different days, different stuff came up. And I really found this is my platform, I guess, my vehicle. And so, got out of psychology and decided I was going to pursue the strength conditioning field. And, the nice part about the gym versus being a baseball coach, for example, is there's no, I don't control the lineup, right? You come to the gym, I don't care if you're the most talented, most skilled, you've had the most coaching, everyone that comes in kind of starts at the same level. And so it's one of those things where I can develop that relationship and not break it by, sitting a kid or, cutting whatever. It's all are welcome. And I can build those relationships, build that platform through training, right? The weight room has that ability to, anyone can come in and say, I want to get strong, fast, jump higher, whatever it is, right? And so as I grew through my career, I guess, I had an opportunity to start my own business in January 2020. And looking in the moment, I thought, going through the COVID situation, I'd been open for 2.5 months and then they said, okay, or 2.5 months and you're shut down. And I was like, I'm looking at other jobs. I'm like, what do I got to do? Do I have to start getting my resume ready? Like, there's no way this is going to work if the gym isn't open. And the blessing, I guess, is that I got to take my vision for creating a space for middle school, high school, college, professional athletes, and build a space for them. And during COVID, my vision was I'm going to make these people better, right? Mentally, physically. They're going to walk in and know this is the best part of their day. And going through the COVID situation, that vision really got to shine because for a lot of most of the kids that were coming in, that was the only thing they were doing all day long, right? They were sitting on the couch, doing online school, playing video games, not leaving their house, but I'm going to go to Gas House for an hour. And during that time, there were so many highs and lows and, weird times, governor pushes sports back. I remember one day that we were in the gym. It was probably 1:00 and there was a bunch of kids in. governor gets on, says, hey, high school sports are pushed back another 3 weeks or a month or whatever. And in that moment, I felt energy drop. You could look at body language, you could see the looks on their faces, and it was like, these kids don't need the perfect X's and O's strength and conditioning plan right now. They need upbeat, fun, energy. And there were times where we, okay, stop what you're doing. We're playing a game. We're doing dodgeball. We're, doing a relay race, whatever it is, just to up that, right? And so I look back at the COVID times and I'm like, man, that really sucked. And it sucked for a lot of people. And, I was lucky enough to make it out on the other end. But going through that and really saying, we're going to make these kids happier, more confident, have a good time. I'm going to fill other coaches that are just great role models. And that's what the basis of everything we're going to do is, right? There are so many good strength and conditioning coaches, not only in America, but Spokane, Washington. And I think for me, the thing that separates kind of what I do and what we do is, man, I truly care about these kids being okay, and I think that during those that hard COVID time, it kept me up. It was the first thing that I thought about is, how am I going to make these kids be okay? And I think that, when I look at where things are now, I know I'm in the right, doing what I'm supposed to be doing, because the stuff I care about, making someone strong and fast is easy, I think. As far as if you have a good foundation, getting a kid that's brand new to the weight room, that isn't strong, isn't fast, isn't, is just going through puberty, figuring out how their body moves, getting them to be excited to come try something new and, face hard challenges that are going to happen. Wait, we're going to do something we've never done before. You're going to suck at it. But the next time we do it, you're going to see improvement. And the next time, and the next time, and the next time. And it's just going to compound. And then all of a sudden, that person that was terrible at whatever we were doing, someone else comes in, and I can see them say, I have the confidence to walk up to little Johnny and say, hey, this is a good tip. Put your feet here, do this. This is what I struggle. It's like, that's what I'm trying to build, I guess, is the foundations of taking care of people and understanding that, man, everyone's going through something, right? It's easy to look at the popular kid, the all-star player, whatever, and say, oh, that kid has nothing to worry about. He's fine. But everyone's dealing with stuff, and now with social media, with kids going to college and having the transfer portal and all the other stuff that comes with it, it's it's a stressful time to be 14 to 24 right now, and so, I think that for me, I'm in the place that I was put on this earth to be, and, I'm doing, I'm always trying to, build not only my business, but I'm trying to build better ways to have kids come in and say, I feel good. I feel better about myself. I feel better about what I'm doing, my vision, whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it shows that you definitely found what you're supposed to be doing, because when you did start the gym, you had the perfect excuse to be, you had the perfect excuse to back out or realize that you were facing a daunting challenge of starting your own business, creating something from scratch, following your dream. A lot of people, when they follow a passion like that, they face the resistance and they get intimidated and they want to back out. And you had a perfect excuse to stop, reset, reassess, but you took it to the face and you kept going. And you weren't supposed to have more than 4 people in a room or whatever. You got to be 6 feet away. You can't run your business. You certainly can't be in the gym where you're sweating next to each other. And I think that's huge, and it definitely shows that you wanted it, because with all that adversity, you still found a way to give these kids what they needed, and ultimately, what you needed. And I think that's huge. That shows that there's a lot of passion in it, and you're right. It's definitely supposed to be there, and it is, and it's still standing and stronger than ever. So you made it through the thick of it, and
it's funny because you feel it too, right? Where you've done some cool projects, right? And it's a huge honor for me when kids say like, "This is what I want to do what you do when I'm older." Like I've had a few kids say that, and it really means a lot to me. But I kind of chuckle to myself because I'm like, man, the amount of super early mornings, super late nights, thinking nonstop outside of the gym, the amount of stuff that isn't seen. I'm like, you got to be ready to grind. It's not going to come easy, and it's one of those things that I have, like anyone, I have doubts on my ability to keep this thing going. And, but that insecurity or that fear of it not working pushes me to do better. Right. And I think that it's one of those things that if your vision is right, I think, it's going to work out, in my opinion. And the chasing the dollar is the most overrated thing. I had lunch with a guy last week, and he's a pretty successful business guy, and he goes, the first thing, "Hey, how you doing?" And the first thing I asked him was, "What's your day look like today?" And he goes, "Man, let me tell you something. Success is not money. Success is controlling your schedule." And I was like, okay, there you go. Like, that's the first 30-second bomb. And, controlling your schedule in the gym world is a hard thing for people to get to, because I'm trying to do so much. I'm trying to take care of so many people and trying to cater different schedules and all this stuff. But the fact is, like, I know that, those early mornings when it's easy for me to wake up at 3:45 in the morning because I'm excited. There are times where a lot of times where I truly get ready to go to bed, and I say, I cannot wait to wake up, because I know this guy, this girl are going to be waiting at the gym for me, and I'm going to get to talk to them, see how they're doing, what's going on. We're going to get to have a great session, and that's going to start my day. How lucky am I, right? And, I think that, you probably feel that too. You're blessed to do some really cool projects, and that you get excited for, not just because, it's a client or whatever. It's what you love to do, And so I think that that's always my biggest advice for these kids is like, hey, the college route, right? Like, I want to play D1 baseball. Why? Why do you want to play D1 baseball? Well, I've just been working so hard. That's what I want to do. Well, that's great. But, like, that doesn't mean because it's kind of expected that's your goal, just to be at the highest level. It doesn't mean it might not be the right fit for you, right? It might not be the fit for a kid that isn't as invested in baseball as maybe the determination it takes to, and commitment and sacrifice it takes to be at that level. The community college route, the Division II playing, club, whatever, is just, for a lot of people, it's a great route. I have a friend that we played high school baseball with that was the biggest baseball fan I'd ever been around my entire life. And, he always said, I want to be in the major leagues, want to be in the major leagues, want to be in the major leagues. And to be honest, he was very good in high school, but he wasn't that good to be that level. Went to WSU, joined the field turf management, grounds crew major. He's the only one of my friends that has ever stepped on a major league field. This fall, he was at the World Series on the field because he's one of the lead grounds crew for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Wow.
And it's like, man, you can, whatever your passion is, like, you can follow that. There's so many different routes to get there, right? Like, there's, you can be a coach, be on the grounds crew, be on the media team, whatever it is. It's like, it's great to have those passions, but
I can relate to that a lot, because I used to, since I was 11 or 12 years old, I wanted to fight in the UFC, but now I've kind of matured and shifted my goals, and I want to be a photographer, a videographer for the UFC, but still, the passion is fighting and mixed martial arts, and that's the pinnacle for me. And now I just want to just shift it a little bit, but I still want to be in the UFC, just the other side of the cage. Right. So I think that's really cool.
And you might, something you can do for a long, long time.
Exactly.
And so that's what's really cool for you, is like, that's something that you can make a name for yourself and be in that world for a long time. And it's like, at one point you might say, this is better than being in the cage, and I think that for me, I get to live through a lot of really good athletes that get to do really cool things. And I think I'm just as happy seeing a kid progress and reach their goals, and as I am, like, thinking, I wish I was in that spot. You know what I'm saying? So, just the struggles that these kids are going through in the last 5 years, and 5+ years, whatever. The world's shifting, things are shifting. There's so much comparison, right? There's so much, I have to be like that or I'm a failure. And it's just not the case. I look at my buddy who didn't make it. He's not the starting shortstop for the Phillies. He's on the grounds crew. I look at him as just as successful as, the guy who is the starting shortstop for them. And so, for what I'm doing, I just, I know that I go through a lot of mental thought of, how do I help these kids see that? And any life experience I have, give it to them, and at the least just be a call away of like, hey, I'm dealing with this. Can we just talk this out? And because it's hard. The hardest question for like a high school or even high school junior to where I was a sophomore in community college. What are you gonna do with your life? Like what job are you gonna do? That's a really loaded question for somebody that is just kind of going, trying to figure it out. You ask somebody, a junior in high school, so what's next? Well, I don't know. I'm not getting recruited. I haven't heard back from the schools I want to go to. I have my first boyfriend or girlfriend. Am I going to stay with them? Do we go to school together? Are we going to be able to make long distance work? My parents want me to do this. My coaches are saying I should reach for this, but that hasn't happened. Like all those compounding things lead up to like a high level of stress for a simple question like, hey, what's next? Like, and I didn't have the answer at 20, 21, 22. And that question for a 17-year-old is really hard. And so, I mean, I don't know where you were at 17, but
I was right there. I don't know. Even I went to college for a year in Seattle, and even then, you pick your major, and that's a tough thing to do. But then I couldn't help but think of like, okay, I get this degree, but then what? What's this piece of paper going to do to affect my life and all of a sudden make me all this money that I want? I was like, what's a economics degree really going to do? It's just a piece of paper, isn't it? I don't know what job am I going to get with an economy degree? But then aren't I going to have to learn this entire job from scratch? So what's the point of school if I'm going to have to jump into a profession where it's you start at zero? But because I have this piece of paper, I can learn something new. And so college was not for me. And it was just crazy to think about how like ultimately this piece of paper will let you start at zero somewhere else and learn something completely new that you didn't even need those last 4 years of school for.
For sure.
I didn't even know what I wanted to do till 11, 12, 13 months ago. But now I mean it kind of just fell from the sky and taking it and running with it, and but it feels good and that's for sure though. When you will know. It shouldn't have to be like, I might want to do this, I might want to do that. It's going to hit you in the face. It's probably going to come out of nowhere. It might even be the thing that you thought you would last want to do. I never thought I'd want to be a photographer or be a videographer or talk to people. I'm very, very shy and don't like to talk to people. I'd rather, sit in the back and watch and listen. But, where I am right now and doing interviews and wanting to travel and talk to interesting people, I never thought I'd want to do that, but it kind of found me and I love it. And so it's kind of, I feel like we're feeding off of each other, me and this thing that's calling me, because it feels good to pursue what you want to do. And it's indistinguishable. And when it finds you, you'll know it.
Right. And that threshold, right? So 11, 13 months ago, right? When you start with nothing, right? And you're trying to build up whatever you can, right? And that threshold, how many people in the photography world, okay, I'm going to get a camera, I'm going to do the steps to be equipped, right? And then as you're going through those steps of starting, how many times, are you like, man, this was supposed to be easier than what it was? I felt that like, okay, I'm certified, I have the equipment, I have all the stuff. Aren't people supposed to just like come? Like, or how do you get to the level where you're like, oh, this is a job, not just a, hobby, I guess. And
Exactly.
that's what happens in my industry a lot is, that first, I don't know if it's a year, I don't know if it's 3 years. There's a period of people aren't just going to trust you because you have that paper, right? It's like they have to want to come. They have to, a lot of times they have to have somebody that they can relate. Oh, you worked with Johnny. Johnny got great results. I want kind of the same results as Johnny. So now well, how do you get Johnny? How do you get to that level? And it's like if you can get through that, man, this is so hard period, then you have the work built up that like you can build off it, right? And I think that the fitness industry there's so much trust that goes into it, right? Like there's that relationship. It's one of those things that you have to go into it knowing there's going to be a level of this is really hard. There's going to be a lot of doubts of, can I do this? And there's going to be good months, bad months. And it's like when I first started, when somebody would say, I'm going to go to another gym, another trainer. Man, it used to like really like hurt me, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, oh man. But that's, for me, the way I've grown is I look at it as like, well, I was a part of that person's journey, right? Like, I don't expect to be with every athlete or adult or whoever for the next 40 years, right? I know that it's going to go in waves. There's going to be times where somebody says, hey, I've learned a lot from you. I think that I can do it on my own. Perfect. That has had to be a mind shift for me of like, yeah, they're going to go do other stuff. They're going to go other places. They're going to work with other people. And it can't be a heartbreak thing, because I'm grateful for the time that I get to develop those relationships. And I hope that when they are done working with me, that they know like that guy's got my back if I ever need something, right? Like I hope that that is the foundation of, you know, after they're done and they're at college, they're working out on their own, whatever. I'm a text away, a call away, and you ever want to get coffee, you want to, check in on when life's good or life's going hard, like that's what I'm here for. And I think that it's something that took a long time to learn. That's how it is. Because, if every time, a client hired another photographer and, it broke your heart, man, there'd be a lot of heartbreak, what I'm saying? And so it's just like the times that I do get to spend with these kids and athletes, I really cherish it, because it's might only be for one off season. It might, kid comes home for college. I only get 2 months, with them, and then they're back on their normal routine with what their school is doing, whatever. And then when they're done playing, they say, hey, I don't really need to get fast anymore. It's like, okay, that's good, but just know that I'm always here for you whenever you need whatever it is. So, yeah.
So I wanted to touch back before I forget about it. We'll bring it all the way back to the beginning part. When your roommate did take his own life, and after you've matured and built more relationships and seen kind of the underlying signs of somebody who's depressed, or maybe, on the surface it looks like everything's fine and dandy, but obviously it wasn't. Was there anything looking back now that you were like, this could have been why this really sucked for him? Was there any signs now that you've kind of had time to reflect and see other perspectives?
I wouldn't say signs, like, because, I was with him every single day for years, right? And there was never a time that I really look back and say, man, I should have dug into that a little deeper, right? But I think that, we kind of go back to how our world is for, mental health. Like that stigma of like, if I call someone, if I call a mental health center and say, hey, I'm struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts, there's a thought, especially for men, that I'm being weak, right? That's not showing strength. Toughen up, man up. Like, I think that there's a place for that, but also like that knowing that the stuff you're going through is hard, and it is okay to have these thoughts of I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, my life is hard. Like those are normal thoughts for a lot of people. And the thing that I think for him was having that conversation would have would have made him feel like I'm not being tough, or I don't know if tough is the right word, but I'm not showing strength, right? And so I that is the thing that, if I could have had a conversation, I'm like, hey man, like, it's okay if you're struggling, it's okay with whatever, hard stuff is going on. If you want to talk about it, if you like, you might not want to talk to me, but let's find you someone that you can talk about it with, right? And like, for kids, that's like the hardest part. Telling mom and dad, like, hey, I'm having suicidal thoughts, that's going to put a panic button, a red light, panic, and it might make things more stressful at home, right? And so who can they have that conversation with? And if it's me, there's times where I think, the right thing to say, but there's times where I know who I need to connect them with, right? Or we need to let mom and dad know, because, the pressure that maybe they're feeling from mom or dad feels like a lot of pressure. I gotta straight A's, be on the varsity team, get into the good colleges, all of that. Like, that pressure feels like a lot, but, for most parents, I'd say, if not all, man, I just want my kid to be okay, right? And I'm okay with a B, or, striking out or whatever, if that means your mental health is okay, right? And I think that that's my buddy's dad always said, like, I had the sex talk, I had the drug talk, I had the drinking talk, I had, all these like check marks as a parent of like going through. I never had the like mental health, suicide, depression talk, and the, so we made these rings here. I got
Good persistence.
We made these rings, that said, they're a little silicone green ring, and it says, it's okay not to be okay, right? And so we started this thing called the bread tie challenge, and it started with just going to the grocery store and getting the green ties that you tie your produce up, the bags up with. And the thought was, okay, if I wear this green thing on my finger, there's a good chance somebody asks me about that. Hey, what's that ring? And then that opens up a conversation. Well, my buddy took his own life. We started this campaign. Basically, it's a way to start a conversation on, suicide prevention, mental health awareness, and it's like that conversation. There were so many times that people would be like, "Oh, I have a brother or myself or whatever," and you can have that dialogue, and it's like, yeah, we just want to spread that, like, in America right now, the suicide, the mental health, anxiety, depression, all those statistics, especially for 14 to 24, are rising, right? I think last time I looked, it was something like, excuse me, like 11. I'm not gonna say the stats because I can't remember off the top of my head, but it has pretty dramatically every year rose, right? And when you see that the statistics are rising for that, like, depression, let's say 1 out of every 3 people have some form or some thought of some bout with depression. If I said 1 out of every 3 people have that, it lets you feel a little less abnormal and be able to have that, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one going through this, so I can talk about it, right? And I think that is so huge in today, the going through COVID, the social media, all the stuff that is saying that is raising these issues, being able to say like, hey, you're not like, your situation's unique because you're going through it, but there are resources, there are people to help you get through it. And maybe, have you thought about trying to tap into one of those resources? And for some people that might be, you know, counseling. For some people that might be having a conversation with someone like me, or a coach or a mentor, just being able to like express their feelings, right? Like, and the those stats, right? Man, it's like, we just need to let people know, like, it is okay to not be okay. It's okay to struggle. You know, the LeBron James, the, you know, Division 1 athletes, all these people, like, no matter how good their life looks through the cell phone, Instagram page or whatever, I bet you they have doubts about themselves, they have struggles, they worry, they have bad self-talk here and there. It's like, if those people are having it and you're having it, isn't there a way that we can find a way to help you too, right? And so you don't have to feel that alone. I think my buddy felt alone in being able to express himself. And I think there's a lot of people that have gone through that mental thought process of, you know, I'm a failure, I suck, you know, I can't do anything right. It's like, those thoughts, we can work on those, right? We can help you get back to your baseline, or, you know, give you strategies on how to attack them, right? And I think that a kid hearing that is powerful, especially coming from someone, let's say in my role of mentor, coach, you know, I like to consider myself role model, someone that, if I can say, hey, your situation's unique because it's you, and I don't know what you're going through, but I know that there are ways to help. I think that puts kids' minds at ease a little bit, of like, okay, I'm not in a alone space. There's people out there to help me, you know. So, and that's, I think fitness is such a powerful way to attack that. You know, how often do people, you know, after their first workout of not doing anything for months, or if they're in a great routine, go work out, go get a sweat, go get movement, sunlight, and then come out the other side and say, I feel pretty good. I feel good, you know. And that's why I've dug into the strength conditioning space. Is it doesn't feel good it's hard to tell a kid to feel good after striking out 4 times and making 5 errors. But if a kid fails on a squat, I can say, hey, look how far you've come. We're going to come back next week. We're going to do the same thing, and we're going to attack this, and we're going to beat it. And, you know, that thought right there, it's like, sweet, like, I have another crack at this. You know, you don't have another crack at that 3-pointer at, you know, in the championship game or whatever it is. You have another crack at everything we do. So it's that the mental health, the confidence, the way kids talk to themselves, or anyone talks to themselves, so big. I heard this guy say, you know, the thoughts that are in your head rule your world, right? And if you're somebody constantly saying, gosh, I suck, I'm a loser, I'm a failure, I can't do anything right, you know, that self-talk plays a bigger part of your life than you think. And it's like, if we can figure out, okay, you know, like I tell a lot of kids, you're not allowed to say I can't in here. I get a lot of kids that, all right, we're going to do 5 pull-ups. I can't do that. Well, how about we try, right? And if you don't, I have something that we can do that the next time you do it, you'll be closer. And then the next time you do it, you'll be closer. And then pretty soon you'll get those 5 pull-ups.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that I can't before you even attempt it in my space is it's a it's it's a no bueno for me because I want kids to feel the failure or the not succeeding and then having the game plan of okay, I'm gonna get that, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna, and it's like, you know, then when they do get the look on their face, the way they carry themselves, it just changes, and you can feel it of like, man, they didn't get that. I had a kid trying to hang clean 225. That was his big goal. He just couldn't get. That day that he got it, he was on cloud nine, happy, encouraging, dancing, doing all the stuff, and it was like, you know, that's what it's about, right? And he is going to remember that, and he's going to feel that about himself. He walked out of the gym that day saying, I'm pretty cool.
Yeah, I bet.
I did what I was setting out to do. And, I always joke with people that, my superpower is not programming. It's not technique. My superpower is I can convince a 15-year-old kid that they're pretty cool pretty quickly. And, I used to work a lot with professional athletes, and that I thought was my passion, my mission was to work with these high level athletes. It's so fun. They can, they can do so much incredible stuff. I get so creative with the programming and do some cool things. As I've grown, the kid that I love working with a 15-year-old kid that is scared to death of the weight room, that has no muscle on him or her, and walks in thinking, I don't know if I should be here. Because that kid, I'm 100% sure, give me, let's say, three days of working with them, I know that they will think they're cooler on day 3 than they did day 1. And just by putting them in a position to win, they're not going to be as strong as the kid that's been coming for years, but I can find a way to put them in a position to have a win, and that win will carry them in and keep them coming back and keep them thinking, this is pretty cool. And for, health, fitness, strength, that's a hard thing, because I think there's a lot of atmospheres in strength conditioning that are intimidating. I mean, if I go into a big powerlifting gym myself, I'm gonna be a little intimidated. There's some strong guys. There's there's a lot going on that, man, I'm a little nervous, and so the atmosphere we've been creating is for the kid that says, I don't know if I belong here. No, you do belong here, and this is why. And give me 3 days, and I promise you're going to feel some wins. And that win hopefully will carry them into a journey of lifelong strength and fitness, And so it's, I know we got a little off there, but I have the fire I feel for these kids and everyone. We have adults at our facility too, but that 14 to 24 age group, that the fire I feel for them to be better is something that goes into every decision we make, as far as how we're going to set this up for them to feel that this place is ours, right? And I belong here. And I think we always get that first day. Oh man, there's some strong people here. They're doing stuff I've never done before. I don't know if I belong here. Come on, we will teach you. We'll get you acclimated. We'll, get you some wins so that, by week 2, week 3, you are feeling all right. I'm where I'm supposed to be. So.
And those wins really translate into real life too. If it's school, if it's a new job, if you have proof that you can get better at something that you set your mind to, then you can do that to anything. If you failed a test, but you got to get a certain score to get into this certain school, I can study, go back, do better, just like I did for my deadlift PR. Mm-hmm. I practiced and I got better, and it showed. So now I can do that over here. Right. And I think that's huge.
Yeah, it's it's one of those things that for me, there's so many, the answer to a lot of problems, right, is strength and conditioning, because that's the world I'm in, right? But I think that, if we can help people be, our mission statement is build better humans, right? And if I can get more people on that, right, not only where I'm at is going to be better, but the teams that they go to, the school, the classes they're in, the jobs that they eventually go have, those places are better too, right? And so it's just that ripple effect of, if we can, with whatever profession you're in, whatever team you're on, whatever, if you can go in and say, I'm not just thinking about the top half of the group. I'm thinking about how do I get this whole group moving forward so that everybody has an equal say in the culture and an equal say in how we do stuff, right? That's the power that I think that the world needs a little bit of. We're gonna be better, and I think that it's hard to get people out of their ways a little bit. And I'm not trying to get people out of their ways, but I'm trying to show them that they have power to influence others and have power to, be the best version of themselves, so that hopefully you can pass that on. It's a little contagious, Mm-hmm. I think that it being contagious is, it's powerful, right? So I have a kid that comes to gym, and I describe him as fire, right? He has so much energy. He's always on, right? And I always say, like, he's fire. He has 2 ways to use that fire, right? The fire, the productive fire, the encouraging, the good talk, the hard work, that fire can heat an entire apartment complex, right? But that same fire with negativity, with off task, all that can burn the apartment complex down. And so it's like, when you have that fire, how do you heat the entire complex so everyone's warm, right? And I think that analogy for a lot of kids, if they want to be a leader, they want to be a captain, they want to have an impact on their team, okay, the stuff you say, the way you do things, the type of person you are, make that contagious. Make that so the kid that doesn't have that, find a way to give it to him, Mm-hmm. And so it's yeah.
A question I wanted to ask was, since you've had your gym and been in this position you're in, have you had those talks and those vulnerable talks with kids approaching you, or approaching you, or maybe you see somebody acting a little funny for a period of time and you've came to them and been, you've had that talk of like, you good, man? Like, are you actually good? Like, something's up. You can talk to me. So have you been able to have that experience, recently and doing what you're doing right now?
I mean, it's not every day I recognize it. It's every day I'm on the alert for it. And so I've had plenty of those conversations, right? I think that even with staff I have, right? So I'm always hyper aware of body language, and because I have to meet kids where they're at, right? Finals, boyfriend girlfriend issues, sports issues, all the stuff. Like, high school is high school is a roller coaster ride, right? And the scene, just a look on someone's face or body language or whatever, somebody misses a lift that I thought they should have got, I always am, hey, you good? And I always do it in a way that gives them the power to want to talk about it. No, I'm good. Great. Hey, so I'm here if you need me. And I know that they're going to come back. Mm-hmm. And I can follow, I can judge if it comes a streak, I can pull aside, hey, I'm recognizing this, like, and kind of dig in a little bit. But that, like, day to day, I can always open the door. Hey, you good? If you need to talk, just let me know. And then there's times where, that question, hey, you good? I've had a time where it leads to tears. Boom, let's go outside, let's talk, let's go to the corner. And it's something that is why having that consistent, I see kids 2 times a week, 3 times a week, 5 times a week, having that consistent baseline of, okay, I know this is that person's baseline, seeing that dip and being able to just check in. I never want to seem nosy, but I want them to know that, hey, if you're struggling with something, like, let me know. Like, let's talk. And sometimes I have to give that kid a little more attention, a little more energy. I think that it's coaching and training. You have to meet people where you're at. There's people that are always on fire, always have, Mach 10, loud, all of it. And, if I yell at somebody, oh my gosh, that was terrible, someone's going to respond different. Person A is going to respond different than person B to that. There's people I have to go one-on-one, quiet, hey, what happened there? Like, and kind of have it on the side. And then there's another person that will respond to, a little more energy, loud, whatever. And so I think that when you're dealing with athletes, kids, or anyone really, you have to kind of find what makes that person tick and find where to meet them in that process, So, there's people that play better in their sport when the pressure's on and, you're on them and yelling and grinding on them. And then there's people on the other hand that you have to know will perform better in that more relaxed state and, feeling like the pressure's off. And it's like, if you're coaching everyone the exact same way, you're going to run into conflict or resistance on how each person goes through it, right? So,
For sure.
the day-to-day I'm always asking, and if somebody says I'm struggling a little, the questions, well, how you sleeping, how you eating, how's school going, how's things at home, hey, you and your girlfriend were fighting, how's that all, because all that stuff is stress that compiles, right? And the, I don't know about you, but like a girl dumping me in when I was 14 hurt a lot more when I was 19 or whatever it is, and it's like these kids, the emotions, the struggles are more than what maybe me and you would feel in that situation,
For
where
sure.
a B on a test for someone striving to be a valedictorian is stressful, whereas the kid just trying to pass and graduate, might say, what is she complaining about getting a B for? Like I would, yeah, different,
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
And then last question I have is, you're a relatively new father. Do you feel any sort of added pressure, or is it kind of the opposite where you feel like you have the right tools? But do you feel any pressure of making sure that your child is ultimately happy and has all the tools that he's going to need to be able to talk to you and talk to his mom and have a happy life? Because I'm not a parent yet, but I'm sure that your new goal in life is to make sure he's happy through and through. So what does that feel like with everything that you're bringing to all your athletes and everybody else that you encounter? How is it for your actual child now?
Well, it's funny because like there's so many situations I see kids in that are in high school, let's say, going through them. Like they always ask, how would I react in that situation, right? And the I always am trying to game plan and kind of put myself in those scenarios, and the you know how do you put these kids in situations where I want them to fail. I really want my son to be in a situation where he gets cut from a team, right? I think that's, for me, something that is really important, or be with a coach that is really hard on him. But it's also I want to have the protective side of like, well, I never want him to be in that situation too. And it's like I think that, I'll never know how to react until I'm in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the things in my life and the things I see and the things that I kind of hope for is I want him to be happy, but I also want him to go through hardship and me be a part of the process on how to overcome it, right? And I think that that's for, if we're using strength as example, not hitting a lift, working to get it, and then finally getting it, right? That hardship builds character, builds confidence. And so it's one of those things where I'm always looking, okay, what am I going to do in this situation? Is he going to do these kind of camps? Is he going to be on these kind of teams? What's going to happen here? And I don't really have the answer for those, but I know that I want him to include me on how to overcome hard things, because I think that is something that I'd like to see a little more of in the world. I think, of hey, you got cut from the team. Maybe I'm not going to call the coach and complain. Maybe we're going to spend an extra time in the backyard working on whatever it is and prove that person wrong,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I I love like the stories of MJ getting cut from his high school team, learning how to deal with that. I think not only drives a person, but also when they do reach that goal, gives them that confidence, and hopefully that confidence leads to happiness and stuff like that. So, I mean, um, yeah, it's my dad was my coach growing up in baseball, and we butted heads, and we, um, had hard days, but we also had a lot of really good moments of like he's helped me get through these obstacles, and the the hard things I've gone through have made me better, right? The worst thing in my life, losing my best friend, truly laid the foundation for what I'm doing today and gave me the confidence to and the tools to be a really good resource for some of these kids. And the so that's I mean that's kind of the long answer of I just I invite struggle in his life, and I'm gonna be there to help tackle it with him, but also he needs to feel that resistance so that he can figure out, okay, when I don't make the team, when I get fired from a job, when my girlfriend breaks up, I know how to battle through that, right? I think that that battle um, is something that I really am inviting in his life, because I mean, me and his mom, we spoil him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he's we only have one right now, and but there's gonna be days where he's got to figure out how to get back up on his own 2 feet, and I think my dad did a good job of that, where I always knew he had my back, but I also felt a lot of times that, all right, I got to figure out how to do this myself a little. So, um, yeah.
Well, that's great. um, I think you were very well spoken on this topic today, and mental health is huge, and especially for athletes, and then especially for male athletes dominated by you're supposed to be tough and supposed to be strong, and you're supposed to carry the team through the hard times, but nobody talks about who's going to carry you through that hard time too. Because if you're too worried about making sure your team gets first place or making sure the weakest link is going to be as strong as the strongest point to carry you guys together, you're not worrying about who's going to carry yourself to the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important to me too, because I find myself being that role where I'm caring about others a lot, and maybe being, the head of the pack or leading the team to the finish line and having to worry about the rest of the team behind me. But they're too worried about themselves trying to make it to the finish themselves, where nobody's kind of supporting the person at the top, and then you go home alone. And maybe you guys did get first place and you're happy for the team. The team's really happy. They didn't think they were going to do it. But, at the top, you expect that. And so you go back home, and it's winning sometimes feels empty, and winning sometimes isn't all that you want and chase, because it's just what you expect. And so losing really, really, really sucks, because baseline is winning. And it's really tough to be at that position where, like, when I was in fighting, I would win a fight and it feels great, yeah, but I'm supposed to win. I put all the work to win. you're expected to win. So when you lose, it's 100 times more feeling than winning, and it's the completely opposite direction. So it really, really sucks.
Right.
And so realizing that there is outside support to help you when you feel empty or when that win isn't filling you like you hope that it should, reaching out and talk to your coach, talk to somebody who's been there before. That's huge. And don't feel like you're a wuss. Don't feel like you're not good enough or that it's going to make you look weaker to go talk to somebody, because you never know the right words that are going to be spoken to you that are going to flip the switch and make you a better human, a better athlete, a better man, better woman. Just talk and be vulnerable. And thank you for coming on and talking about this stuff. And I think it's huge and more people need to hear about it.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man.
So go ahead and plug the gym, plug anything you got going on and where they can find you and everything like that.
Gas House Gym on social media platforms. We're located in Spokane Valley. You can get in touch with me on Instagram, Donnie Santos IV. Anything you need, let me know.
Cool. And then are you taking only athletes? Are you taking a certain age range? Who all can come to Gas House?
So we have adult groups. We have athletes. We got teams. We go to high schools during the summertime and run the strength conditioning at high schools, which is super fun. And yeah, so anyone looking for strength and conditioning and is welcome to come try it out. And yeah,
cool.
easy.
All right, Joe. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.
Deuces. Sweet, man.